Cilantro. Okay, here we go.
You are live. Well, welcome
Cilantro.
to Monday Night Live with Alan and Greg and our special guest, Shannon from Bookish Musings and Music. I don't know if we have anyone watching yet, but there you go.
Yep, I can't tell.
Oh, you say MJ 3 times, right? MJ, MJ, MJ.
We were doing that with my name one night. I saw that.
We did.
Oh,
I saw the replay.
Well, it's a bit different because we're a little earlier than we usually are.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's sort of an experiment to see. Medium John Silver watching from Florida.
I wonder what city in Florida. I have people in Daytona Beach.
I don't know. You'd have to ask. What part of?
I used to live in Gainesville.
I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
He's a commenter, and I know he's mentioned what part of Florida.
Well, that's right, Shannon. I almost went to grad school in Gainesville. That's when Harry Cruz was teaching there back in the 90s.
Yeah. At US?
Yeah, I really like Gainesville. There was like there's all kinds of seafood, but I love that campus, and I'm still a Gators fan, and I have a T-shirt even from Gainesville.
I worked
University
at US
of Florida.
for years.
Nope. John's from north of Tampa.
Okay, Tampa Bay.
And Bad is Rad too. Captain Howdy is here. Hi, everyone. Hello, Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy, man. Boy, her Exorcist video was off the chain.
That was really amazing, especially when it looked like she was crawling up the wall. It's like, that's a really good
video that Bad is Rad did. I didn't see that. I'll have to go look for it.
She's
the editing. I wonder how she did that.
Creative videos. I mean, I just put on the video camera and talk, and I don't even really bother editing.
I do a little editing, but not much.
Yeah.
Throw books up here.
She said, I had to impress you guys.
Well, Shannon's up to like 186 subscribers, so that's really good. That's a milestone, like 100.
Well, I was. I think I had 195, and then I lost a bunch, so I'm back down.
Oh, tell me about it.
It happens.
I'm just waiting.
I know. I lose a bunch. When I gain subscribers, when I do nothing, like I'll do nothing and gain like 5.
Really?
Then I'll put up a music video or something and but then the next milestone is 300. 300 used to be the big deal. Mm-hmm. And now after that it's 500, and then now the big deal is 1,000. But yeah, you're on your way, Shannon.
Yes, I'm gonna have to go to her channel and find that video you guys are talking about.
I think it's only been up for a day.
Okay.
You want to be shown again? Everyone, this is Teddy. Just coming up to say hi.
Teddy.
Because I'm talking to you and not paying a whole lot of attention to him. But we'll see if he sits for a while. Yeah. Okay, so what have people been reading recently?
I just finished Margaret Atwood's short stories.
I saw the video, yes.
And I just started reading The Glass Castle today.
That's a memoir by...
Memoir, yeah. Jeanette Wells. Jeanette Walls.
Walls. I read it about 10 years ago, so...
Did you? Okay. Did you like it?
I did. The details after 10 years really aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
But I did it for a book group in Washington State.
Mm-hmm. Just started it today, so I think I'm like 50 pages in or something, 55 pages. But liking it so far. I think I saw the movie a long time ago, but I don't remember like the details of it. So
Is she a writer or?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh. Yeah, I'm kind of ignorant about that.
Yeah. No, I think she's got a couple novels.
Oh, Read by Fred is here. Hello.
Oh, hey, Fred. Yeah, that's cool. You said he might stop by.
That's cool. Well, I just finished a book for an in-person book group called American Dirt by Janine Cummings. It was published a few years ago, and it got a lot of criticism. It got a huge advance, like $1 million advance.
Wow.
It was supposed to be the next big book, but it's about Mexican immigrants trying to get to the United States. And the author isn't Mexican.
Oh.
And a lot of Hispanic writers got very upset that here's this essentially American woman. I think she's claiming her grandmother was Puerto Rican, which is kind of a little bit of a stretching it to say you're Hispanic at that point.
Yeah.
And the problem I had with the book is that it's a thriller. I thought it was going to be a literary book about real life events, about trying to migrate from Mexico. Mm-hmm. But it is essentially a Hollywood thriller type of book.
Okay.
And, for a thriller, it was okay. But it came across as inauthentic.
Yeah. Well, it would be if she's not Mexican.
I think you don't have to be Mexican to write about Mexican immigrants well.
True.
But the fact that she took this thriller style sort of made it less, it sort of lessened the issue for me, because it's taking the issues and everything that happened to an immigrant happens to this woman. Just throwing the whole kitchen sink. Mm-hmm. But it did make me pick up another book off my Kindle that I had purchased many years ago. And it is Tell Me How This Ends by, what's her name? Valeria Luiselli. And she is a Mexican author that has immigrated to the United States and working out of New York City. And she talks about the immigrant problem in a very authentic manner.
Now, is it like at El Paso or Arizona border, or?
Well, in the novel American Dirt, I don't think it's specified where they cross, because the characters don't know. I'm assuming Arizona or Texas, probably Arizona.
Yeah, the border there at New Gallus. It's like 2666 kind of takes place. Sonora Desert out there. But
that could very well be the place. But the nonfiction account was very well done, because she talked about it, she was in New York City being a translator for the immigrant children who come across the border without parents.
Oh, horrible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very good book to read after the other one, because you get the fictionalized sort of Hollywood version, and then you actually get the nitty gritty, and you say, okay, this is what's really going on. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was just a lot better done, a lot more powerful for that subject.
Well, I'm getting about done with this book. This is I've read this probably 3-4 times, but I'm reading this with Matt Wall, and I wonder if Shannon would like this, because you like Henry Miller and Plath and that.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember if Henry Miller was like a druggie or not. Did a lot of drinking.
Well, a lot of drinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Have
you ever read this?
No, I haven't. But I always
it's pretty heavy.
Isn't it a comedy? No?
It's funny, but a lot of drug addiction, a lot of homosexuality. Okay. It's kind of derogatory toward women. That's why I don't think a lot of women will like it. But Matt Wall says he knows quite a few. So, but I like Burroughs. I mean, I've been just reading him since like high school, and the cut up methods and all the experimental stuff and his personality and world travels and just kind of intriguing to me.
Yeah, I've read or I listened to the audiobook of Naked Lunch. Now, I don't know if that's a great book to listen to on audio because
I'm doing the audio both. You know me, I do audio and read a lot. Okay. I need all the help I can get, as I say, but I like the audio version of it. But I listen to it when I go to sleep, and oh man, I had a wild dream. Because I quit smoking weed for a while, like a week, and my dreams come back really intensely. And I won't be listening to Burroughs before bed anytime soon.
I also listened to the biography of William S. Burroughs.
By Barry Miles.
I believe that is the one that I listened to.
Yeah, I read and reviewed that a few years ago, but go ahead.
I'm saying he really brought out his ability as a writer, even though he was, like you said, all the cut ups and his commitment.
Sure,
and he just had a very strange life.
Yeah, I mean, he was the Burroughs were calculators. They made their money through calculators, so he never had to work. Burroughs, he was on the dole all his life. That's why he could be a junkie and, travel all around, do whatever he wanted to. But he was like a trust fund baby.
That would help.
It would.
So Bad has made a comment. I don't think you have to be Hispanic. I was watching a lady that is not Mexican that lives in Mexico. I really enjoyed it. She's a YouTuber. I agree. And I don't think it was necessarily the criticism that she wasn't Hispanic, but that there's so many other Hispanic writers out there who are living it and in Mexico. And here's this woman who got $1 million advance.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's just an average, ordinary, run-of-the-mill thriller. And I'm thinking, why don't you look to us for?
Yeah, I could see her writing a nonfiction book about it. But I don't know. You can write about anything you want.
You can. But I understand where they're coming from. Is like, you feel slighted at some point. It's like, we're here. We've always written about it. And this woman gets it.
Yeah,
that is from El Paso. A lot of immigrants walking everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to El Paso. It's the pass, and that's where they stop and search your vehicle, and you got to get out of the car if they request it. I was on a Greyhound bus one time. They brought the dogs in.
Yeah. Fred's made a very good comment about. I just finished Hatshepsut, the Pharaoh. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. The Pharaoh Queen. Not as exciting as I had hoped, and yes, I find nonfiction exciting. I find nonfiction can be really just as good as any fiction, except when it's how do I say this? Academic nonfiction.
I agree.
What that it's where it's written for other professions.
Yeah,
and you're trying to prove a point about whatever context you're doing, and you're missing the story and the people in the nonfiction, and that can get a little dry sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I read, I wouldn't say 50-50, but I read quite a bit of nonfiction. Like I'm reading Dave Grohl's Storyteller right now. Brian mentioned it last week. It's good. I like Nirvana and the Foo Fighters.
Boiled Hippos myself. Al, I'm not sure.
They boiled the hippos?
What does it say?
See, I liked They Boiled the Hippos myself. That may be something about the book that read by Fred, because they would have hippos down in ancient Egypt. Now, again, I figured the whole philosophy of the idea of waste is evil and the creation of good hippos. I think he's commenting towards Fred, and we're just missing out.
I'd like to get back to Margaret Atwood, because I've read quite a few of her novels. I'm going to order that short story book from the library. Yeah. But I really liked her. Cat's Eye is good.
I haven't read the novels yet, but which one should I start with?
Probably the first one, The Edible Woman. That was really good. Mm-hmm. That's one of my most watched reviews for some reason.
Oh.
Yeah, I've read quite a bit of Margaret Atwood.
Have you?
I've read Handmaid's Tale, the Oryx and Crake trilogy. Mm-hmm. I have read The Blind Assassin. I have read the Penelope Ad.
Wow.
I've read a novella about people switching out as prisoners. It's sort of a dystopian where you volunteer to be a prisoner so people can have jobs as prison guards.
Wow, I'd like to read that.
I read it as the first part as a serialized novella. It might be a fully published novel by now. I didn't continue because I just didn't find it all that well done. And then I read the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, I haven't read that yet.
I was very disappointed in that one because it felt to me that it wasn't as much a sequel to the novel as a sequel to the television show.
Have you read Hagseed?
I have not.
That's good. Retelling of The Tempest. I love that comedy. Mm-hmm. I'd like to play Caliban someday. I think I could play Caliban pretty well. Kind of crazy. My tattoos and stuff just go up.
You know, if there's ever stage local community theater, go.
Yeah, our Shakespeare theater here, the closest one is Astoria, and that's up north. If I drove, I'd probably try to get involved with that. I love Shakespeare. We had a really nice Shakespeare theater in Mesa, Arizona. It's still there. And then I love the Shakespearean Theater in Chicago on Navy Pier. I've been there, 3-4 times.
Okay, yeah. I know when I lived up in Seattle, my wife and I were thinking about going down a couple times and seeing the Oregon. There's an Oregon festival of Shakespeare, like you said, around
that's in Astoria, isn't it?
What?
I think it's in Astoria.
It could be. I don't remember, but we never sort of got our crap together and got to go see that. Yeah, Bad was saying Mexican actors don't get paid as much as others. Yeah, that's endemic to the whole thing.
Well, let's talk about Henry Miller's song.
Oh, well, I'm trying to catch up with the comments for a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hippos were boiled in their tanks.
By William S. Burroughs. That's where it's coming. That's a short story or a book by Burroughs.
What is it called?
And the hippos were boiled in their tanks.
Might be in this. Let me look.
Well, Shannon, here's a question from Fred. Did you ever read The Stone Angel in high school? If not, which novels did you read in English class as a teenager?
Oh, what did we read in high school? Lord of the Flies. The Island of Dr. Moreau. H.G. Wells. Gosh, I'm having trouble thinking that far back.
I can't remember what I read in high school either.
Yeah, I know those two, and I'm not sure. We did some Shakespeare. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of what the others would be.
The two I remember most was for the same class. We did a World War II, and we had to read The Winds of War by Herman Wouk, which was one of these gigantic novels, but we did it. And we also did Slaughterhouse-Five.
Oh, okay.
I was in I had the same English teacher for 4 years in high school, and the last was like honors. So we read like Waiting for Godot, and I say Godot because that's how Beckett said it. Everyone says Waiting for Godot, but he said Godot. So we read that, and we even watched I don't know if it was in high school or later. I watched Steve Martin and Robin Williams played the two characters. That was really good.
Another question from Bad Shannon. Shannon, what kind of books do you love to read?
I like thrillers and literary fiction. Those would be my top two. Thrillers and literary fiction. Some horror, some nonfiction, some classics, but mostly literary fiction and thriller, I'd say. Yeah.
Any recent good thrillers?
The one that comes to mind is Dark Places, and that was probably last summer, but that's hard to beat. That was really good. Gillian Flynn.
Gillian Flynn?
Yeah. It's Gillian.
Gillian.
Yeah. Yeah. Sharp Objects and Dark Places, both her books were really good. And I haven't read Gone Girl yet, but they were both really good.
I've read Sharp. Was it Sharp Thing?
Sharp Objects?
Sharp Objects and Gone Girl.
Okay.
She's written one other book?
Dark Places. Yeah.
Seems for an author who has such a popular book that she hasn't written a lot.
She's been doing stuff for TV, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been writing some TV stuff, and she's got at least one short story out, The Grown Ups. I did read that. But yeah, and then all three of her books were made into, well, two of them into movies and one into a TV series. So
you just want to show yourself off.
That too.
No, I like a thriller. You know, I don't read classics and hard books all the time. Like I like the Jack Reacher books. Read most of those. What else? But you know, I read a lot from the library. Kind of cleanse the palate, as it were.
I think one of the
a lot of really detective stuff.
Thrillers is You, Caroline Kepnes, and there's the Netflix series You, by Caroline Kepnes. No, the books are really good, and the series is really good.
All right,
yeah, I just finished a thriller yesterday by Paul Tremblay.
Yep,
it was the Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin at the End of the World, isn't
Cabin at the End of the World.
Yeah, I read that.
That had a few surprises that you really went down that road.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way.
But you know, I kind of like it when you have to stop and say, "Wow, I was not expecting that to happen."
Yeah. I didn't like it as much as most people seem to.
You know, I would never say it was a top-notch thriller.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I read it like over 2 days and, you know, quick, entertaining. Let's try to get some more. I got a lot of comments here. Atwood is not Canada's best.
Really? Who is?
My humble opinion.
It's me.
Someone else has mentioned that when what's her name, won the Nobel Prize for short stories. She just won a few years ago. She's a Canadian author. I think all she does is short stories. It's about 3 or 4 years ago. And I mentioned that, I was expecting Margaret Atwood, and the guy said, she's not as good. From Margaret Atwood, but who knows? Medium John Silver, How is the Blind Assassin? I have it, but I have not read it. I actually like that one. It has a book within a book. And I always like that sort of idea where you're reading a novel and there's a character who's written a novel and you get excerpts from that novel in the book. And there's a secret about the novel that comes out. Now, I guess the secret, but it's a pretty good book. I would not put it as high as Handmaid's Tale or Oryx and Crake, but it'd be right under those. So, like, second tier for her.
Yeah.
Micah Cummins is here. Hey, Micah. I'm sorry. You've been here for a while and we have not waved.
You see, Micah, we're going to buddy read some Robert Harris sometime this year.
He's good.
Yeah, I've read Imperium is the only one I read by him, but
I've read 2. I've read I think it's his first novel, Fatherland.
Fatherland.
Who is that?
Robert Harris. This was a novel, sort of speculative, saying, what if Germany had won World War II? What would the United States look like?
Yeah.
Like the Man in the High Castle.
Yes. And it's a murder mystery, as I remember. And there's a secret that's behind the murder. And it's okay. I was a little disappointed when the secret was revealed. I thought it was a little too simple or just too obvious, but it's well worth reading. I also read, I think it was Imperium, about a novel of ancient Rome.
Yeah, that's one I read. I think it's about Cicero, right?
I read it so many years ago. All I remember is the name in ancient Rome.
About Cicero and his assistant, his like a little slave.
I think that is correct.
Yeah. Yeah, Roz at Scaladain about the books turned me on it. Robert Harris.
So Medium John Silver, To Kill a Mockingbird in High School. No, I did not have to read that in high school.
I didn't. I have it here on my shelf, but I haven't read it.
Oh, that's good.
I've read it twice. I read it, just when I was first getting into audiobooks, I listened to it. And then there was a book group that I did many years later, and I reread it. And I have to say, it's an okay book. I don't feel the love that some people really love that book. I mean, it's like,
I like it a lot.
Of all time.
Atticus Finch, Scout, told from Scout's point of view.
Yep. But I said, it's like, I tend not to like books that feature children characters very heavily. It's just it does not resonate with me.
Yeah, I find that too. Yep.
So what about Catcher in the Rye?
I did like Catcher in the Rye, but he's a teenager, so not quite a kid. He's a little more grown up.
But
right?
Phoebe's a kid.
Yeah, but she wasn't the main character.
True. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you, Shannon, about J.D. Salinger, because I noticed you had like the 9 stories on your little banner on your page. That was one of the books.
Yeah. Do I?
Yeah, I've read everything by Salinger, and even In Search of J.D. Salinger, nonfiction. And I was so into him as like an undergrad this is back in the day, before phones and that. I had to look up his stuff from the New Yorker on microfilm.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a lot of other published stories that aren't
Yeah.
in, like the 9 stories and that.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about a kind of different, kind of weird writer.
Yeah. I do really like Catcher in the Rye. I've read it twice. Might probably read it again someday.
Sure.
But
That's one I go back to, like Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah, I've only read Raise High the Roof Beams Carpenters.
Yeah, I like Franny and Zoe, but now Raise High the Roof Beam, that's with Buddy Glass, isn't it?
I believe I read it at university, so that was 85.
Yeah, he's smoking a cigar in the bathtub. Buddy Glass is probably like 15. He's smoking a cigar.
You know what I read in 85 it's just not in memory anymore. I know I read it, but
I know you read so much. We all read so much. I'm surprised I have a memory, but some books you just never forget.
Yeah, true.
Well, that brings up. It was a video I watched today. It was Shelley Swearingen talking to another woman, and they're talking about how so many of the books that we read, we just read, and they don't resonate. Mm-hmm. They just you read it, they go in this ear or this eye or that out that eye, and 2 weeks later you go, yeah, I remember reading that, but
yep,
it just
true. I find that with movies too. Like I'll know that I've seen this movie, but I can't remember what happened.
That happens sometimes to me. I'll get 20 pages into a book, especially like a thriller, or like I've read all Dan Brown. I love him for thrillers. Talk about a page turner, but I don't know. I have a good memory for most books, I think.
So Al was going, I read Zarathustra. That's Nietzsche. Got me into small lit class where Northrop Frye changed my perspectives on literature. I have never read Northrop Frye.
No, me either. There's so many things I should have read that I haven't read yet.
The problem is, even I know I've read more than most people have. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot that I haven't read. I just have to come to the conclusion that I am not going to get to it all. I'm going to have to say,
no,
pick and choose.
There's so many good books. You can't possibly read them all. Yeah.
And here's Al going, love Mockingbird, also Catcher, and Godot. You're saying Godot? I don't know. Godot. Yeah, because in French you don't pronounce the T. That's one of my favorite plays. I really.
I like Endgame better. I like Endgame better personally, but it's just me.
I've read Endgame, but it didn't. It did, like you said, it didn't resonate the way. Now, part of it is that the first time I read Godot was for a class in the philosophy of literature, which is basically reading literature as philosophy. Mm-hmm. So we covered a lot of the existentialism of Sam Beckett.
Yeah, I took a whole workshop on Beckett at Arizona State, so I was really lucky. Deep dive into Beckett, his films and everything. Interesting guy. To this day, this is how Beckett would write. He'd write like on one side of the notebook, and then when it was done, he'd turn it over and write it on the other side. So it's like both sides are done. That's how I do my notebooks.
What I found interesting about Beckett is that he decided to write in French after he published his first few books in English.
Yeah, he lived in Paris and that.
And I had an Audible book that you can get from Audible. It was free. It's like 90 minutes. But the reason he did that is that he wasn't as fluent in French as he was in English. And it made him write more deliberately.
Hmm.
I wish I knew a foreign language.
Oh, when we talk about Conrad's Heart of Darkness was in high school.
Right.
Not in my high school.
Nope.
But it is one of my favorite novellas. Master and the Margarita, that's a great Soviet novel.
I've never read that.
What?
I've never read that.
It's one of the great works of Soviet literature where he wrote it but couldn't publish it. And it circulated around the literary circles underground. Read by Fred, Medium John Silver. I had to read Kill a Mockingbird in high school as well. I remember enjoying it. We also read Lord of the Flies, The Glass Menagerie, The Great Gatsby. Yes. Need to reread that.
Yes, we did The Glass Menagerie also and Lord of the Flies.
I love Tennessee Williams. I've seen quite a few of his plays too. I was a theater major back at Kent State.
Really?
So, yeah, I used to be really into plays, and I would write scripts and plays.
Yeah, I saw the Glass Menagerie, a college production. I was at a small college in New Hampshire, and they had a theater, and they had all the theater majors, and everyone who was a theater major basically got a part in the play if they had enough.
Yeah, Gentleman Caller. I love all his plays. My favorite is probably Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. But Tennessee Williams is probably my favorite. Him or Eugene O'Neill. I love Sam Shepard.
A Streetcar Named Desire. Was that Tennessee Williams?
Yeah. Stella.
You got to get really Stella. Yeah.
Tennessee Williams.
Now, enjoyed listening to Lord of the
Seinfeld. The Seinfeld episode. You don't know. Never mind.
I might have seen it. I might have just don't remember it.
Yeah, I've seen almost all of them. Like
where Elaine is yelling Stella.
I can't remember that one, unfortunately. Damn.
You'll have to look it up. Google it.
Sure. I like Seinfeld a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
Maybe it's Alice Between Books. Yeah, so I hate to say how many decades ago that was. Hey, MJ is here. Waves. I'm sorry, we're sort of behind on comments, but hi, MJ.
Hello, MJ. I said your name 3 times earlier.
Yep.
We did. Read by Fred, the 80s. Great music, not so great movies.
Yeah.
I had fun in the 80s. I had it going on back then. Driving around in nice Chevelle car and Buick Regals. I grew up in Toledo, Ohio by Detroit, so I had like a new car every other month. I'd fix them up, sell them, we'd go up and get another car. Now I haven't driven since the 90s. I live in Portland. You don't have to drive.
No. Back where I live is like you don't go anywhere without driving. I guess my music would be the 70s, and my movies would be the 70s too. I like those more.
God, back in the 80s, we had VHS tapes, and I had 2 VCRs with a illegal hookup, and I would go to Blockbuster and get, a Hitchcock movie, and I'd tape it. I had hundreds of videotapes.
Well, Alan, when I was growing up, we did not have VHS. We did not have we sort of got the HBO a little bit later, but he didn't have cable. And what I remember is my brother paid for it himself is an antenna on the roof that you could spin.
Yeah.
To pick up the local TV stations.
Crazy. Like 3 channels, and then it'd go off at night. It wouldn't be on all night.
Yeah. That's pattern.
Remember that?
Yep.
And no remote control. I was a remote control for my dad,
I remember the first remote control that we had was wired. It was wired to the VCR TV, and you clicked it that way. And if the dog ran through, it would pull the wire out. So you'd have to go plug it back in.
Go chew on the wire. Yeah. Well, that's fun. But yeah, you'd have to call up the librarian for information. That's what I would do. I'd call up the librarian. Who wrote this?
Yeah.
That's one good thing about our. Where's my other phone? It's over there, but little handheld computers. They say that like the chips and stuff in our phones are what they had equivalent to like Apollo 11 that are in our phones right now. Something crazy like that.
The one I remember is the computer that Alan Turing designed to decrypt Enigma was less powerful than your phone.
Yeah, and it probably filled up a room or something.
It did fill up a room.
Wow.
So Al's been Mortimer Adler's book, How to Read, teaches how to make it stick. I've never read that one. I know there's a piece of advice that he gave. And he said you're supposed to write in your books. And I will go to my grave. I will not write in my books. I'm not doing that. And Alan's going to pick out one of his books that's filled with all his notes.
I know.
Anything's way. Yeah, it's like every page like that.
See, I just want to know what you're writing in there. Like, I can't see that. I don't
write in all my books.
I highlight.
MJ likes your willpower t-shirt, Alan.
Oh, thanks, MJ.
I kind of like it too.
Yeah, I do too.
Medium John Silver, books that pass through you without making a lasting impression. Neutrino books. I think we're going to have to use that and make that a booktube term.
What, neutrino?
Neutrino.
Oh, I can't see.
It's a particle that
is neutral. Neutral. Yeah.
Al, we should all do an episode on Godot. Love it. Yes, it is philosophy.
I haven't read that in a long time.
Al, speaking French, it is more expressive and allows more expression. He also allowed to say more intense topics. Bad. I saw a video of you and Alan together doing a tag video in Portland, I think. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great video.
Yeah, that was Greg's idea.
That was like
Sizzle Pie.
Yeah, Sizzle Pie. My wife created a tag videos for Al and I to do. And this was I was 3 months into, and no one did the tag.
No one did they?
No one ever did it. And there was some interesting questions in that one.
Well, you'll have to send me the link and maybe I'll do it.
It was church and state. Books about church and state.
Yeah,
I don't even remember. All I remember was one of my answers was Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. Turn of the Screw.
You have every book. You just
unread.
Every time you mention a book, he just picks it up.
Yeah.
Turn of the Screw.
Back 35 years. Yeah. I was going back a little more than 35 years a while ago. I remember Shannon, Stella.
Yes. Yes. It was a great episode.
So bad is going. I was born in California, part Native American, Hispanic. My parents were both born in California. Stephanie Cohen. Hello.
Oh, hey, Stephanie.
We are a little bit behind saying hello to people because there's a lot of comments and
Stephanie,
not going as fast.
Our Vonnegut reading buddy.
Yes. Next month, player piano.
We're going to do that next month? Okay, so we got Melton.
No, wait a second. No, we're doing it. Are we doing that February? We're doing that February because we didn't want to do it in March because we're doing the recognitions in March.
Yeah. You know what? I read the introduction to that today by William Gass.
Okay.
And he talks about Finnegan's Wake, and here he compares this to Joyce and other people. This is going to be a real trip and a half, Greg.
I have basically blocked off March for the recognitions and thinking I'm not going to get a lot read other than the recognitions.
Believe it or not, they say, hey, when you finish this, you'll want to reread it again.
I read JR after I finished, a year. The Stephanie, hey guys, just popped in to say hi. Unfortunately, I have to work, so can't stick around and will probably be gone by the time you see this. Okay. Bye, Stephanie.
We appreciate it. Yeah, Stephanie's become a friend.
NACA, a group of ladies that did maths in their heads. I only do math on a calculator these days.
Yeah, sometimes paper, but not.
I use an abacus or my fingers.
That is when I miss hearing my parents singing to the best of the 70s music to the lake, cassette player, and a big yellow van.
Yeah, good memories.
Oh, that's the book, Al. But Hidden Figures is a great book by the daughter of Onassis. I listened to the audiobook of Hidden Figures a couple of years ago. It's a good one. And it goes back to show that there were a lot of women behind these big scientists that don't get the credit they deserve. There's a lot of work that goes behind giving work to these main scientists.
Well, Shannon, do you want to talk about Nashville a little?
Oh, what about it?
In your music? Like, do you play guitar and piano or just
sing? I wrote and sang and recorded and sang backup on a couple albums for other people as well.
Unfortunately, I've only been through Nashville. Unfortunately, I'd love to spend time there because I do like the South. I lived in Georgia for a while.
It's not my favorite place.
No.
Yeah.
Nice place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah, it's very Republican, and I don't want to get political, and you're not supposed to talk about politics, but
it's okay. I've talked about politics on my channel before, and sometimes I get a lot of unsubscribes when I get really political. And
yeah, but here we can talk about politics if you want.
I did that for a topic earlier in the year, and I got like -8 subscribers. for a small channel of 500, but last time I looked, I was down to like -1. So I guess got caught up pretty much.
Yeah, I don't really pay attention to it. I'm more focused like MJ on friends and, quality over quantity. I mean, I'm happy with my channel. Although I'm going to lay off doing the music too much on it.
The problem is I sometimes read really good books that have political content. And
Sure.
I don't want to not mention that this book is really good because someone's going to be upset that I'm talking about the judges on the Supreme Court. And there goes one subscriber already. He said, okay, he doesn't like the judges on the Supreme Court. I'm unsubscribing, you know.
And people make so many assumptions, you know. When Black Lives Matter happened, I participated in 2 marches up here in Portland, and I videoed them. They were totally peaceful, and but people just make so many assumptions, and they're so quick to judge too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all right. People are people.
Yeah. Oh, Agnes, Athenaeum. Hello, if you're still here. We're a little behind going through comments, but we'll always say hi when we see you. Al, I will mark up a book, but using out of print digital editions, audiobooks, and URL books, a commonplace book allows you even more insight. Well, you know, some people are okay marking up their books. I know Alan is a big fan of that.
Yeah.
I call it annotating them. But like a book like Satanic Verses, when I read this, I won't mark this up. Probably not. I have Post-its over there, like Dane Cobain and my Baldwin reading partner Patrice Jones uses put those Post-its, you know, to mark your spots so you don't have to.
Yeah.
But if I plan on keeping a book, I'll mark it up.
Me too. If I'm keeping it, I'm going to highlight the stuff that I want to be able to find easily again.
Right.
Yeah. If I'm not going to keep it, I won't. But if it's my book, I will.
Yeah, like it's an easy, like that's Harry Cruz. He was in Gainesville. That's where he lived and taught. But you know, I have no marks in this. I mean, it's just a fiction book.
Yeah.
But if it's Joyce or Faulkner, I'll walk it up.
Oh yeah, some books I don't find anything worth highlighting.
Agnes says she'll have a small notebook. You know, I tried that, but my problem is if I'm sitting down and reading in a notebook and I write in the notebook, my handwriting is going to be so bad that it's going to be illegible. That in order to read my handwriting, I have to have it on the desk and I have to position myself in the writing position, and it's still terrible handwriting.
Yeah, like for Faulkner in August this summer when we read Absalom, I've got a brand new unmarked edition of that, but because my other edition's in a box in Phoenix. But I'll probably get a separate notebook and make my notes, you know, because I'll be doing videos and that. But I like to journal and keep notebooks. Always got a few notebooks going on.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, you're a writer, Shannon.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you working on your book now currently, like every day or?
No, not every day. I can't through the week. Like when I'm working full time, I leave at 6:30 in the morning. By the time I get home, it's already dark this time of year. Like,
right.
I just eat and like I got an hour to relax, you know, like so it's mostly on the weekends, but I don't know. I've kind of given myself a break from it for a little while because I'm turning it into a memoir. So before I start that whole rewrite, I just want to let it kind of gel in my head for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Stephen King says, put it in a drawer for a while.
Yep. Just kind of
subconscious
thinking about it and I'm writing down, making notes and have ideas, but I'm not like physically doing it yet. Yeah.
That's good. It's tough when you got to work full time,
Yeah, and I mean, the book's written, it's just that now I'm realizing it needs to be a memoir, so I have to rewrite it. I mean, I can still use big chunks of what I have, but just gotta be kind of reformatted a bit and stuff, so
True. You can't just cut and paste it. You gotta.
yeah, some of it I can, but some of it's gotta be kind of rewritten and yeah.
I've got a short story I've been holding on to for about 3, 4, or 5 years. I got it up there. It's all marked up and everything, but I think I'm just gonna start all over. I know how it ends. I already got the beginning in that. I know the story. I just got to write the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to write a lot.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I'd like to read
I
some of your
used to
stuff.
write stories in my 20s. And the way I did it was I was working at Borders Books, and I'd take a week or 2 weeks off for my vacation and just write then. And because even if you have a little doobie job like a book clerk, you say you work 8 hours and you get home and
You're tired.
your brain is gone.
Yeah.
It's just wasted. And
Yep. That's what I find. So I'm no good after work. Like I need to relax. Like I can't, my brain's like dead.
John Grisham, I know a lot of like little stories about writers and that, little anecdotes, but John Grisham had to wake up like 2 hours early. He had to give up his sleep and write in the morning.
Yeah. And a lot of writers do that. But I mean, I already get up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I can't get up any earlier.
You can't get up at 3 and
I just can't. I'd be going to bed as soon as I got home from work if I did that. Like, I just, no.
It's hard.
It's too early.
I did get up at 5 o'clock a couple of years ago, my wife and I liked it because when I got up at 5, you do all the pet chores and you can start work at 6 a.m. because it was during COVID. I was working from home.
Yeah.
And when you start at 6 a.m., you can leave work at 2:30.
True. Yeah.
And that was like, I have a whole day ahead, or like half a day ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go to bed at 9. So it's like,
yeah. And that's generally, I usually between 9 and 10, because I'm up at 5, have to be on the bus at 6:30. So doesn't leave a whole lot of time.
no.
Can I ask what you do?
I work at a university here.
Oh, cool.
Doing admin type stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. I worked at UF for 3 years as well in Florida.
Right, Gainesville.
Yep.
Moss on the trees.
Yep.
Well, I love that Southern cooking too. When I was in,
Yeah.
I gained, I weigh like about 180 now. Down in Georgia, I lived there I lived there a couple times, but I was up to like 220. Talk about that boy. I just don't like being that heavy. I don't like feeling myself walking through the air like that. I like to be about 180. But down there, all the fried food and it's so good.
Yeah.
All the biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, Read by Fred has a question. How is your dog Dexy doing?
She's good. She's being very quiet, which is suspicious, but I'm hoping she's good. She's a year old now. She's starting to listen to me. So, yeah.
I love animals.
Are you doing a lot of dog training with her?
Not a lot, but, some. And she knows a lot of words. She knows a lot of words. Yeah. Yeah.
Are there, dogs and cats are smarter than we give them credit for sometimes.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
very, very smart. Yeah. She is. And we have a cat too.
Do they get along?
The dog wants to play with the cat. The cat does not want to play with the dog. So it's constant, like she's at him and he's like, go away. So.
Yeah, we had a dog when I was in Washington, and it's sort of the reverse. Our cat Teddy, who you saw earlier, liked the dog. He wanted to be friends with the dog, and they were outside, and Teddy would go up to the dog's legs and rub him with his head, which is just the cat saying, "Let's be buddies." And the dog's going, "Get away from me, cat."
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah,
funny.
that's the opposite.
Yeah, Teddy seems really cool.
He is. The other cats are not showing up. I think I have 4 cats.
4 cats.
Our 3-legged cat ran into the litter box room just a minute ago, and I thought he might show up, but I guess he had better things to do.
Yeah.
Now, what's his name?
Pip.
Pip, right. How could I forget? I always want to call him Lucky.
Now, when we adopted him, the shelter had named him Trike.
Right.
Well, it makes up. He has 3 legs, so.
Okay. Yeah.
But we didn't want to always say, well, So we took a long time to find a good name for him, but Pip is a good name for that cat.
Yeah, I think so. Charles Dickens.
Yep. Nashville, there are 1,352 guitar pickers in Nashville.
There are. I know a few of them.
What was that comment?
Medium Johnson. There are 1,352 guitar pickers in Nashville. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Al, first rule of logic is doubt, especially in their own opinions. Best to be curious over judgmental.
I got a broken guitar pick right here.
How did you break it? Just playing?
Playing too hard. Unfortunately, my guitar is in hack right now. My guitar, here's the guitar stand, but yeah, Alberta's in hack right now. I get to get her out next month. At the pawn shop.
Bad is when I wouldn't unsubscribe to you, Greg, but you're a very nice person. We might have our differences. It all matters how it's handled. Different opinion is fine, maybe. I totally agree with that, because you can't agree on everything. But it's also, I can't keep quiet about books that I read that are important and touch on those subjects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our friend Brian at Bookish gets quite political.
He does. And I'm sure everyone who disagrees with his politics is long since unsubscribed to his channel.
Yeah, or, he likes to argue. He's on Twitter all the time, too. I mean, I don't do Instagram. I don't do Twitter. I don't have the time. Talk about time. I'd rather read books and.
I did Twitter for a while, but I just got bored with it.
I heard it's a real shit show.
I think now it is, yeah, but I stopped probably a year ago. Just got bored with it.
I've been on it before, but
around 2017, I just got tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now with Elon Musk, it's just like everyone's jumping ship.
Yeah.
I think that he spent $45 billion for a $20 billion company, and it's now worth 12 or something, or 10.
I know. I can barely do Discord.
Me too.
But that's the only way you can kind of communicate with Ali. I got a buddy read coming up with Ali too sometime. I got to go back to Discord to find out when, but.
Oh, you're doing Elmore Leonard's Westerns.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to be on the ball for that, buddy read.
But no. Agnes, Borders. I missed that store. Yeah. Borders.
Yeah.
I remember I was living in Bethesda, Maryland, when Borders first hit the Washington, D.C. area. And at the time, it was just in Michigan. was actually an independent bookstore owned by Tom and Lewis Borders. So it was an independent bookstore.
I didn't know that.
It was. And we were working there, and then one night they said, we're having after the store closed, they're having a store meeting, and everyone was required to attend. And he said, we've been sold to Kmart.
Oh.
The Borders brothers sold out to Kmart. And then they had their huge nationwide expanse, and years later they just went belly up.
And I've heard that they're coming back, Kmart.
Kmart?
Yes. Here anyway, there's supposed to be one coming. Yeah.
I thought it was just Borders that went belly up. I didn't know Kmart had gone belly up as well.
Well, here I think they did.
Yeah, they went up belly up here too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So from what I've heard, they're coming back, Kmart.
Okay. I don't know if Borders will come back. I don't think there's a. But
what about Walden's bookstore? I used to work there back in the day. Walden's. They've been out of business for a long time. I've worked at quite a few bookstores.
But what's amazing about Borders in the early days is the range of their stock. Their book selling philosophy before Kmart bought them was, it's okay if you have a book on the shelf that sells one copy every 2 or 3 years.
Jeez, wow.
Because if you want that book, you're going to go there to get it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you'll buy all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And then the internet came around and sort of like killed that.
Well, we
and
still have Barnes and Noble.
That's really sort of what killed Borders, because it's hard to believe back when there was one store in Rockville, Maryland, people would drive 2 to 3 hours to go to that bookstore. And on the weekends, you would have like 6 cash registers, and the line would be 40 people deep. It was just like amazing amount of books flying out of that store.
Yeah.
We still have Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble was never that busy.
Oh, no?
We have Chapters here.
Chapters.
Yeah.
I mean, I never go into Barnes and Noble. I go to Powell's if I don't buy online, but I'm usually buying online.
Michael K. Vaughn showed up. Hey. We're a little late saying hi.
Best comment of the night.
That's litter box castle. Well, it's not just a litter box room; it's a storage room. It has lots of totes and things, Christmas bags and trees. But
put up a Christmas tree this year?
We did. At least my wife did. I just said, if you want the artificial Christmas tree, I'll take it up from the storage room for you, and you can decorate it. But we have a 3-season deck, and she put it out on the deck.
Oh, I see.
And the thing is, one of our cats says, "Oh, look at all those cat toys hanging from that tree." Yeah. And she goes, bam! And knock it down.
I can imagine that. Oh,
yep,
hurts my legs.
Yeah, but my house, it's pretty. It's really too big for 2 people, but that's because we live on the upstairs, and we finished the basement. And I know a lot of people in our community don't finish the basement; they just use it just for storage. But that was my wife's incentive to get me to move from Washington State. It's like, you can have this whole finished basement for your library.
Excuse me.
Good idea.
Now, you don't need a ladder, Greg? A ladder for your library? Like, or do you have one?
I can go in and reach the top shelf. Pick out a book. Who you mentioned it? Daniel at Guilty Feet has a ladder that rolls. Ladder. Oh, MJ Very is cool. Leaving. Goodbye, MJ.
All right. Later, MJ. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by. Al, how do we define cognition? We measure gauge valve is a metaphysical. You know, there's so many philosophy books on consciousness, and they're not going to agree.
I think, therefore I am. What's that joke about? There's a funny joke about Descartes.
I know what it is. I think I got it. The Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. His companion says, I think not, and disappears.
No, this joke is, I think, therefore I am, Descartes. And then, I am, therefore I think, Sartre. And then to do, Sinatra, something like that.
No, yeah. To be is to do.
Yeah.
To do is to be. To do.
Yeah. Put that on a T-shirt.
It's on Amazon. I guarantee you. Yeah. Max Libris. I don't think I know you. I think this is the first time you showed up. Maybe. Yeah, Twitter is a battlefield now. Yeah, I'm glad I stay away.
Yeah, just anonymous people screaming at each other.
Might be worth joining back up just to see it.
You know what? I was sort of naughty. I wanted to join Truth Social and just start plugging wild theories that. See if I could start the next. Oh, I better not. I don't want to lose any subscribers. Start a wild ass theory about. Al, I read books to the blind millions of years ago. Being an ex-banker, I had access to loads of audiobooks. That was my heck. Medium John Silver. I used to go to the very first Borders in downtown Ann Arbor. I remember buying The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes then. Yeah?
Yeah. I know Ann Arbor pretty well. You know, living in Toledo, Ohio, and growing up there, we used to go to the Hash Bash every summer. Back when like marijuana was illegal. So concept was Ann Arbor they'd gather there for the Hash Bash, and if one person was arrested, they'd all turn themselves in and overrun the department. So they knew that, and they'd let everybody smoke out. This is back in the 80s.
Okay. Hash Bash.
Yeah, we used to go to Ann Arbor to go through the record stores. A lot of good deals.
That is saying she has to leave.
All right, Jessica.
I need to have dinner. Everyone have a great goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for coming.
Now, we have been on for an hour and 15 minutes. Do you want to go on for a bit or start?
Yeah, we haven't talked about Sylvia Plath or Henry Miller yet.
Okay, we'll go on for a bit. I'm just trying to get through the comments. Al, I had the largest bookstore in my hometown. Not sure how true that was 30 years ago, but access to a lot of great books.
Wow, coolio.
I understand now. I never really paid attention to the future fortune of new books. I like to use, so I didn't mind marking them up. Mm-hmm. Courtney is here. Hello, Courtney.
Yep. Most violent book I've ever read.
What is it? The book, what?
Of Night Women by Marlon James.
Oh.
It's the fourth book I've read by him, and I turned Courtney onto this, and she liked it all right, but I'm almost it's unforgettable, this book. It's not his best by any means, but it's got the flavor of his other books. But I'm super glad I read it, and she's a really good person to buddy read with. We did Unboxer, and about every other day we were going back and forth about, oh my God, can you believe this? And oh my God. And we're doing a live stream Friday. So.
Okay. Yes, Fred, your comment. Yeah, we have chapters and it has the Starbucks in it. Actually, I think the Starbucks closed down over COVID, which is sad, but yeah. It's cool to have a coffee shop in a bookstore, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Really cool. And I like Starbucks a lot.
Oh, world's largest bookstore was a 2-floor store in Toronto in the early 80s.
Well, we know the largest independent bookstore now.
Powell's.
Yeah, hello. Right here in Portland.
I miss Powell's. I wish I lived in Portland so I could just one lazy day just spend the whole day wandering around.
Oh yeah.
How many floors do they have?
5.
5?
Wow.
The whole city block.
Yes, sir. I'll send you some Garbage August books. Or I'll take it, like I'll go in there and take some photos and see which ones you want. I know the section where they're at.
Yeah. Courtney, it's historical fiction about slavery and the planned revolt in Jamaica.
Like in the 1700s. It's really a trip.
There is a book that I want to read by Madison Smart Bell about the slave revolt in Haiti during the 1700s. It's actually a trilogy. Hold on for a second.
Yeah, it's more violent than Blood Meridian. It's more violent than Light in August.
Really? More violent than Blood Meridian?
Oh, yeah. Much more.
Okay, that's saying something, because I call Blood Meridian the most violent book that I've ever read.
No, this one blows it away. But Marlon James, I really like his style. It's told in Jamaican vernacular, except for there's an Irish character in here too. But, to do that vernacular through a whole novel is really hard. And
is it hard to read going through that? Because sometimes vernacular gets a little difficult to get through.
No, he pulls it off.
Okay.
After you get really used to it. And I also did the audiobook on this too. I read along with the audiobook, and that helped a lot. Through the Libby app, Libby, that I talk about all the time. It's free. And if they don't have the audiobook through Libby, then I have to go to Audible.
Libby is really good if you've got a good library system. Now, because I came from the Seattle area, I still technically have access to my King County Library card. They have not revoked it.
Ah.
And that is like one of the best libraries in the country. So I can get a lot of audiobooks and ebooks from them. Like my library down here in Virginia, it's pretty sad, actually.
Mm-hmm. You have to go through interlibrary loan, or you just probably buy the book.
If I didn't have access to King County Library and Pierce County Library, which are my two old library systems, because it's when you lived in that part of Washington, you could be part of both library systems, even though you weren't technically in the other county.
Yeah. I love Seattle. I was up there last year to see Glass Animals concert. They're a kind of popular band. I saw them here in Portland, and I went to the show up there. It was when I was working full time and had a lot of money, but now I only work in the summertime.
Yep, Courtney was going. It was a challenging but doable. I have the Kindle version that I bought, and I was sort of going to try to read it this month, but I just had so much else on my plate that couldn't squeeze it in.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's unforgettable.
Oh, Courtney's saying Seattle library system is amazing.
Yeah, she used to live up there too. Yeah, I forgot.
It's really sort of amazing how some areas just have really good library systems, and others, now that I live 60 miles south of Washington, D.C., which is not really rural, but it's has that same mentality that we don't want to spend money on books.
Oh, yeah, Toledo, Ohio has a good library system. Good museum too. And Georgia, Georgia didn't have it. They were getting better.
Does Canada have a good library system?
I don't know about everywhere, but we do here. Yeah, we actually have a pretty new library downtown. It's like all glass and several stories, and yeah. I don't go in there as much as I should. Like, I need to start going, but they've got a recording studio in the library too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow, that's excellent. Hey, before we go, I want to talk about Chuck Palahniuk.
Okay.
I'm really kind of unfamiliar with him. I've read Fight Club a long time ago. I love the movie, but
yes, my favorite movie ever.
I love the ending of it. It's just a real trip.
Yeah.
I like the whole
movie.
But what about the short? Is it a short story? I can't talk. Too much coffee. The short story, Choke.
Choke is a novel.
Oh, it's a novel.
Yep. Actually, that's the first one I read. The first one I read of his, and I read that and just loved it. Like, just loved his writing style. Yep.
Yeah,
I'm going to go to college and get that.
Invisible Monsters.
Yes, that was good.
That was a bizarre.
Yep.
And I've only read another short story by him. He had just published a short story collection.
There's one called Guts, and there's one called Phoenix or Rising Phoenix or something.
What was the first one?
Guts.
I don't remember that.
No.
But what they did is they gave away the free ebook version of a short story, a free audiobook of the short story, just to say, here's a sample, and I liked it well enough, but I didn't buy the rest. Does he have one book that you'd recommend over the others?
I think my favorites that I've read are Invisible Monsters, Choke, and maybe Diary. That one's good. He's got a book called Lullaby that they're trying to make a movie of, and Kristen Stewart is going to be either directing it or she's in it or something. And that was a good book, and they did a Kickstarter for it for the movie. And so I was one of the people that put money in, so we get our name in the credits whenever they get the movie done. So
that's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool. But we've been waiting, like, it's been years, like still waiting, because then COVID happened and they couldn't really do anything. And so, yeah, they're still trying to figure out who else is going to be in it. So it should be exciting. Like, get your name in the credits, and they're going to send, they'll send me a copy of the script. So
okay.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah.
Very. He lives here in Portland, and he speaks sometimes at Powell's,
Yep.
and so I need to get into him. I'm gonna read him this year.
Yeah.
Now, Fight Club is his most famous, or is that because of the movie?
Yeah, it's because of the movie. Yeah.
But not his best work?
Not to me. I mean, it was good, but I think Invisible Monsters and Choke are better.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get those two.
So if you want to go for a second, go for Choke. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Survivor, I think that's what it's called. That one was pretty good too. Yeah, I've liked most of what I've read of his. There's been one or two that I didn't really care for, but yeah.
Read by Fred. Oh, goodness. Speaking of vernacular, the vernacular of the zookeeper, fisherman, and sea captain and general workers in Bram Stoker's Dracula was almost impossible to understand. Hard to read those parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The vernacular in Wuthering Heights. Some parts of that are kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the character. I've read that book like 2-3 times. I'm a Wuthering Heights fan, but it's that northern British vernacular back in the day.
Yep. Yep. It is hard.
I remember I've read Dracula, I think 3 times in my life.
I read it once. Actually, I think I did that for school, but maybe that was university. I can't remember.
But one of the times was an audiobook. And I remember because there are different narrators in the and they had a different audio narrator for each of the parts. And I don't know if they separated out those 3 characters. It might have had, because I remember it was like in a journal or something that had those 3 talking, or maybe a newspaper article that had those 3. Yeah. And they had probably just one narrator for them. But sometimes when you're listening, the narrator does a very good job of pronouncing it in a way that people can understand it and not get really totally confused.
Yeah.
I've never read Dracula, but I saw Stoker's apartment in Dublin where he wrote it. Yeah, I toured that. Yeah, I was in Ireland for a while back in the 90s.
And Courtney, do you get any royalties with a Kickstarter?
No.
No.
No, you just get your name in the credits.
Would be cool. That'd be really cool to read the script.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Yep. But I mean, there was a lot of people in the Kickstarter. So if they gave us royalties, it would be like, $1 or something.
Right.
There's so many people. So
yeah, you probably just frame the check.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not gonna cash
it'll probably be on a screen like scrolling by really fast.
Probably will. But actually, they're supposed to send me a digital copy of the movie too. So I'll be able to freeze it and take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Al enjoyed Bram Stoker's Dracula. The language helps to move on to more complicated texts. I actually kind of like the way Stoker wrote it in all those different narratives. And it was all written entries from someone else. So he had no narrative story. Mm-hmm. And I thought that worked really well. It was very clever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how about The Historian? Have you read that? Another Dracula book.
No,
haven't read that one. I know the book exists.
Yeah. Now, I kind of DNF'd this. Well, not kind of, I did. I think Stephanie Cohen and I, buddy, read this, and I was having too many distractions. But I have this on Audible, too. So someday I'm going to go back to it. It's a big book.
It is a big book. And I'm trying to get through my 100-book challenge, so I'm reading.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, if I go on to the 500 book challenge, I'm totally hosed because that'll be a year or two.
Yeah. I could do the 25 book challenge, but I didn't want to do it.
For me, 25 is, you can do that in a month.
I know for you.
No, I think I did.
You have to remember, I don't have a day job anymore, so.
Me neither.
That would make a difference. Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
You read what you want, get up anytime. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm not able to get up anytime because I will be told in no uncertain terms that it's breakfast time.
By your cat.
By my cat. And if it gets too late, it gets more and more insistent.
Yeah, mine does that too.
Wake up, time to wake up.
Yep.
No, my cat Bella, when I'm sleeping, she will attack my toes through the blankets. And she'll put her claws out to make sure that I feel it.
Jeez. Yeah, I love animals.
Me too.
Oh, there's Fred. This was fun. Have a great night, everyone. Good night, Fred. I think we're about ready to wrap up pretty soon, too.
It's almost my bedtime.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just starting to wake up.
Well, yeah.
This
It's like
Nicorette gum and the coffee and the Nicorette gum and there's vapors and the conversation. Now I'm going to be up for hours.
Yeah, Al, the book ruined the movies for me, Dracula. I do like Nosferatu, but that was its own monster. Yeah.
That was a good.
I remember seeing the old silent version of that a long time ago.
Well, there's a Joe Hill book too, Nosferatu.
Yeah. Yes, there is.
It's kind of a Christmas book. It's a good book.
I haven't read any Joe Hill. I kind of don't know if I want to because I feel like he'll probably be a lot like his dad.
Well, here's sort of a story. We'll end with maybe Joe Hill. I read his first book about a rock star. It was pretty good. First novel, but it was pretty good. And then I read a collection of short stories, which was had some good short stories. And then I think I read Nosferatu. And parts of that book just did not gel with me. He has this habit, like his father, when he talks about the supernatural. In my opinion, a little supernatural goes a whole long way.
Yeah. And
with King and Joe Hill, they turn up the supernatural really high. I mean, they just instead of like a volume of 2, maybe 3, they try to push it up to 11 or 12.
Yep.
And for me, that just sort of pushes me out of the willing suspension of disbelief. It just becomes too much.
Well, I mean, Nosferatu is a total fantastical novel. I mean, could never happen.
But you can get the concept. There's a concept in science fiction that an author gets one guinea. That you can do one impossible thing, but the rest you have to play by the rules.
This has a lot. And it also has a lot of gross outs. Yeah. Like Stephen King will go for a gross out.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, I wasn't going to read him again, but I was in a used bookstore, and I couldn't see the owner and a customer, but they were talking about Joe Hill, how much they really loved The Fireman, which was his newest book at the time. And what was the story? He had written Joe Hill about how much he liked one of his other books, and then he'd mailed him this Fireman copy just out of the blue, saying, "Thank you for saying nice things about my book." And I thought, well, that's sort of a good story. And I went home and I was browsing on my Amazon, phone, like Amazon, and the Fireman was on sale that day for $1.99. I said, okay, I'll buy it for $1.99 after hearing that story.
Sure.
And then I read it, and again, he ramped up the supernatural just way too high for my taste. It just, and he sort of did a lot of tricks that his father does. And he started making I didn't get it but I read some reviews that he was sort of making textual references to his father's books. And if you're a Stephen King fan, you love it when you read, oh, this character was from Salem's Lot, and you're really reading this other book. And
yeah, I would like that. I'm a big Stephen King fan from way back.
Some of Stephen King's books I've loved, and some of them I just couldn't even finish, or like had a hard time finishing. So he's very hit or miss for me. I find like some of his stuff I really, really liked, and then other stuff, no.
Well, that new one, Fairy Tale, is getting pretty good reviews, and
yeah,
it was one of Dane Cobain's top 10 books. He put out a video today about that. I don't know if you guys know him.
I know the channel. I just don't watch everything he does.
He's my Bob Dylan partner. Like we'll do, covered 3 or 4 Bob Dylan songs, him on guitar and me on harmonica. We're about due for another Dylan song.
Okay. And let's finish up the comments. As Young said, we need to set aside reason to explore the possible. But we must not forget that 2 + 2 = 4.
Yep.
And again, there was a comment from Medium John Silver. I don't know if he's still on, but I was complaining about Anne Rice's vampires being able to fly. And I'm going, how does that work?
Well, they're bats.
Well, no, but he made a comment that says, he grew up reading comic books. And in comic books, characters just can fly because they can fly. Yeah. And for him, it was like, oh, vampire flies, okay. So it's a lot of it.
I love Anne Rice. I met her in Phoenix at a book signing for, I think, Lasher. But I've read a lot of her stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, here, he just mentions like in comic books, all is okay. I think that's true. Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have any last comments we want to get out? We've been on for a little over an hour and a half. Shannon?
Went by pretty fast, didn't it, Shannon?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
It did. It was
fun. Hour and a half.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really great. Well, thank you, Shannon, for dropping by.
Thank you.
Our little live show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're getting to the point that we really like having guests.
Yeah, it's cool. Yep.
And I always mean to mention this earlier in the show, but if you want to be a guest, drop a comment and we'll put you into the schedule. Okay.
Yeah, we have some surprises coming up.
We do.
Okay. We're trying to coordinate with our friends in England too, with the time. So
yeah.
We might be having a Friday afternoon live with the people from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We might have a Tuesday coming out.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we're about at the end. So thank you everyone for coming by and watching us, and have a good evening.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Watch it.